Juan. There we go. All right.
What's going on, everybody?
What is
And we
up?
are back on the podcast, and we have Nathan with us. How are you?
Excellent. What are you eating? Is what I want to know.
Oh, spicy mango.
Oh, I
man.
saw that. Is that
Yeah, that
what do
looks
you put
good.
on that? Like Cholula sauce or something?
So no, I put
Valentina?
Valentina hot
Yeah.
sauce,
Okay. All right.
salt, and
Tahini.
lime juice.
Oh wow.
No, tahini's good on mango too.
Yeah, tahini's good, but I have a tahini that has lime on it. It's like there's too much lime, but you'd be surprised because as soon as you put those mixtures, you can add cucumbers, honeydew, watermelon,
That's a salad.
and
Yeah.
cantaloupe, and then put the hot sauce on it, and it tastes
Yeah.
amazing.
What's the I can't I'm trying to think in my mind what that mashup tastes like, and it's not computing. I
It's
can't.
It's
so
It's strange.
it's like it's really a
So you have-
sweet and salty type deal. It's really good.
right. It's like a sweet
Okay.
and salty with a burn at the end, like a slight burn, but not like what burn like I need milk,
Yeah.
but like an enjoyable. But it's like it's almost at levels. You get the sweetness first, then
Yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit of the lime and the sourness, and then the hot sauce just trails it right behind.
Is this an actual thing, or is this just something that you?
No, it's literally
it's a
an
thing.
actual thing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh my
Cool.
goodness! Here
It
we
goes
go.
good
It's
with like
primarily
meats.
Mexican and islanders, like Jamaicans, like this.
Okay. All right.
And it pairs really good with like meat.
Nice.
And then he eats spicy lollipops all day at work.
Yep. Mango.
Spicy
They're mango
lollipop.
chili lollipops actually. So
Okay.
pretty much what
Right.
he has.
Do you have an upper limit, like a bound to the type of spicy food you like, or can you go is the sky the limit?
I could take a teaspoon of ghost pepper hot sauce right now if you want.
Yes. Oh, I can do the same thing. I don't.
So,
I've yet to tap out on anything spicy. I mean, it can go as high as I can get my hands on.
It's just pain.
Good.
Just pain.
Just pain.
It's just
Temporary.
tears.
That's it.
It's just tears. That's all. You'll get them back.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
The
not-
tears really help with the spice level, right? If you let it drip into your mouth, it helps.
A little bit
you know?
of sodium. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like spicy food. I when I was little, my mom used to give me. Do you guys remember those like sausages that said 500% hotter on them?
Yeah.
Like
Oh
I don't hotter
The
than
pickled,
what? I don't know.
The pickled
it's like a
sausages? Yeah.
Yeah, but it literally says 500% hotter, which seems kind of
Jesus.
arbitrary to me, but they are pretty spicy. But I remember getting those when I was like 5 and 6 years old as snacks. And I'm pretty sure it did some neurological damage because like the one chip challenge, nothing.
Yeah.
Like nothing. Just ate it.
How much
It was
did they
nothing.
love you?
Yeah. I was at this
But see-
It's like I got a
See,
heart
but, like-
flutter now.
See, but
Yeah.
I have a lot of Mexican friends, and their 2-year-olds are eating what do you call that?
Flaming
Habanero
hot
peppers.
Cheetos?
Just like just straight,
Yeah.
Oh God.
like
yeah.
nothing, like
Lord.
snacking on them. I'm like, dude,
Right.
just two. He was like, yeah, no,
Yeah,
she
now-
likes it.
The other end, sometimes things get a little iffy there on the other side of this equation. So I try and keep it relatively limited. Yeah.
The top half
This
can handle it.
Things
The
can get
nerves on the other
interesting.
side. They
It
feel
burns a
all-
lot worse, you know.
Right. Yeah, the one
Burns
chip
hotter than
challenge
Space
is not
Lakes
like
rocket.
it's not the going down. It's the processing and the coming out that
It's
really
going out.
gets you. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta find that picture.
Cue next topic before we get too deep into shit.
This Mexican restaurant put up, those small little coolers, like refrigerators, like this big, in the
Mhm.
bathroom with the toilet paper inside. The
Open it up and there's like just like the frost is like coming out of the edge, just flowing out the fog.
Yeah. Harry, are you
I gotta
not?
find
Are you spicy food? I see you shook your head a couple times. Did it not sit well, or what?
Well, I mean, I'm not trying to like ghost peppers just for fun, man. But I mean, I like spicy food as long as it's like served up.
Within reason.
You know.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not just gonna go for the spiciest thing and just Jeremiah is like, yeah, I'll do a shot of ghost pepper hot sauce right now. I'm like, No, I don't have that
Yeah.
game, man.
Have you
Yeah, I
done
think-
the chip challenge thing, Nathan?
That's what I was saying earlier. It didn't do anything. Like I literally have a bag of the one chip, yeah, nothing. But now they make a whole bag. It's not as spicy as the one chip, but they have a ghost pepper chip, Packy or whatever that company is.
Oh yeah.
And I just I just snack on them. I just eat them. So I don't
So-
know. I mean,
I've done
Something-
the one chip challenge,
Violence.
the Satan's toe, and then the Korean fire noodles. It's the ramen that you pour like that. It looks like tar. It's like red
Yeah.
tar. That's basically how it comes out.
I really like my ramen spicy though. That's one thing. But bro, hold on a second. What is that? The
Yeah.
second thing, the Satan's
No,
toe, man.
no, it's Satan's toe. It's a lollipop. You suck on it. I think it's
Oh,
like for a
asshole.
minute is the challenge.
I never heard that one, man.
The devil's asshole. Is that the next one?
Next time we go to coverings, Harry, I'll buy you one. I'll bring one with me.
I'm passing on Satan's anything, man.
That's if what the I forget what the airport security is called again. TSA. If TSA doesn't confiscate it,
no, they'll let you through with
Yeah.
that. Less than
Oh, yeah?
an ounce or two or whatever it
as long as
is.
it's not on your carry-on. I'm gonna rub it on
Yeah.
the flight attendant's eye. It's technically a deadly weapon in reality.
Or you could just be like Drake, man. Just put it in condoms.
Oh boy.
Are you trying to get us canceled, man?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Oh, fun fact. I'll say this and we'll move on. I won't speak too much on it, but I almost got suspended from school for bringing ghost pepper hot sauce, and because someone decided to. We were all tasting it, and one guy was like, "Yeah, I got it," and he put it on his hand and didn't wash his hands. So when he went to go do the do, and, later that day, things were hot, and spicy. The boys were a little too warm.
Man.
So,
Spicy pickles.
yeah, but
Jeez.
anyway, Nathan, I mean, we know who you are. We met you at coverings. Really chill guy. I'm glad we met you. I'm glad I met you. I don't know about the other guys. Pretty sure it's the same thing. But tell us a little bit about
Man.
yourself. What's
What do you want to know? I'm a tile
Well,
guy, like you
so-
guys.
Yep.
I crap in
Ooh.
Porter Johns. You know, which is- I thought about the other day. I was standing in this Porter John, like just sweating, and I thought, like, after 17 years of doing this, there's a certain amount of respect that I don't have for the rest of the world, because they don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, who else is on this level? Who's been using Porter Johns for 17 years?
Who's got
People wanna talk about-
Poseidon's kiss or mermaid
Yeah,
kiss?
It's a
Talk about the
mermaid
struggle
kiss.
of their career. It's like if
Yeah.
you've not crapped in a Porter John for at least 10 years, I mean, I don't know you. You know what I mean?
Let alone
Well, I
hot
can
Porter
say
John.
I didn't
I got
do
some
it for
catching
10
up to do,
years,
man.
but I did it for about 3.
You what?
I didn't do it for 10 years, but I did it for about 3. I used to work in a valve control valve company, and we would travel to different nuclear plants and paper mills and stuff like that. And the plants would never let us use their facilities, so
Yeah.
we had Porta Johns.
Well, I do a lot of I do a lot of sub work for a company that does like high-end remodels. It's not the kind of remodels where
yeah.
you can use their toilets. It's the kind of
Yeah.
remodels where they always bring Porter Johns in. They section off the house, or they're gutting and remodeling the whole house. So, yeah. And even when I'm working directly for clients, I don't know. Porter Johns are popular around here, I guess. Everyone uses Porter John.
Have you ever had one of those nice construction sites where they had a
I
sink,
was
you
just
use your
gonna ask
foot
the
and you
same
pump
one.
it? You
Yeah.
pump the sink. Yeah, those are nice.
Yeah.
Unless it's in the middle of
Oh,
winter,
dude.
which was fun. Then it's
Yeah,
like,
right.
That's not even as fancy as they can get, man. At my old job where I used to deliver drywall, we had one there for like 2 months. That thing was like you had stalls. It actually, I think,
It had a
may
bidet.
have actually
No.
had tile underwater. No, it wasn't that nice.
if you drop something in there hard enough, it turned into a bidet.
Yeah, no.
Hey, like, what's this bidet spraying on you? And a Porter John bidet. know about
Recycle
that.
water.
That's what I'm saying. If you drop something hard enough, it turns into a bidet.
Yeah, right.
A little,
Every
a little
Porter
splash.
John. My favorite part about Porter Johns is just all the like the,
graffiti.
li- the life
blue water.
wisdom,
Graffiti.
like Mexican
The life
escape hatch,
wisdom.
or
The Mexican escape hatch.
that's always in them. Or like turds larger than 4 inches must be hand lowered.
Oh yeah.
Something. I could do a whole series.
Only
just, like,
animals are allowed.
snapping-
No animals, please.
Yeah.
Only humans.
Just like snapping pictures of Porter John wisdom. Every one of them has something
Oh,
that
they
they
always
need you
have
to know.
something. Coldest.
Yeah, I
night.
read some of the sweetest poems in porta potties, man.
And the best
Yeah.
graffiti.
Yeah.
Oh,
Good
I've seen political ads in Porta Johns, man. Someone carves it in. I was like, you really like promoting your political affiliation in a Porta John? I don't know if it's helping your cause here. I'm like,
That's
That's those union breaks, man.
Yeah, but
The
do you
best
really know
Republic.
any people in construction that are like that political? It's probably just someone trolling the
Yeah.
rest of his coworkers in the Porta.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know.
There's that one poor Democrat that's hanging in there.
I
Yeah,
just
it's
thought-
funny that you knew immediately what a political affiliation was carved into the side of the Porta
I was just gonna say I want to get one of those, the ones you see all the time with Joe Biden. He's like, I did that, pointing.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Those on the ticket.
Put on the urinal, no, so it's like pointing right at you.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, I want to point in, like into it. I did that. You know?
I seen one recently. If I would, I think it would have been funny if I had put the Blue Collar Society sticker on it. But
Please don't tag up
That's
Porta
like a
Johns
picture.
with our sticker.
no. It was one of those Joe Biden pointing stickers.
Oh,
The gas price
Yeah.
stickers, so that's what we call them down here. Or
Yeah,
over
Yeah,
here.
they put them on gas stations all over. There's this Dunkin' Donuts though, in going to Folly Beach. If you go through the drive-through, their electrical meter and everything is all a bunch of stickers, man. I gotta get next time I go over there, I gotta put a Blue Collar Society
You know,
sticker on that.
but in the topic of Porta Johns, I was watching that Instagram guy that I follow now, the Mexican guy that does concrete in LA.
Yeah, you're really narrowing
So-
it down there.
There's only one guy. the real something. I gotta look up his name. But anyway, he's
His name's Caesar?
obviously well. No, he was saying, he's like, if you're running a large crew, which sometimes we do every once in a while, he's like, and you're doing a large project, you should have a Porta John,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of contractors or job sites that do not have it. And he was like, listen, these guys got to go in the woods. They use the house. And sometimes, the owners get really angry that you use their house, rightfully so. It is their house. And
I know what
like the
video you're talking about.
Yeah,
talking
so
about.
a company I used to work for actually had us use Home Depot buckets in the back of the
Oh,
van.
man.
Like, you are not allowed to go in their house. You take a Home Depot bucket
In the back of the van.
in the back of the
Hey,
van.
can you
That's
hand me
how
that? Close the door.
So you can only imagine the pranks that came out of that, but that's besides the point. But that's we weren't
Shaking the
allowed
van.
to go into their house. No,
Did they provide you guys with doggy bags and shit
no,
to shit in, or just a bucket?
no.
You gotta bring your own grocery
Yeah.
bags.
This is the highlight of
At the end the
construction.
day,
We're talking
you
about how
gotta
to
wash
shit
it
and where
at
to
the end
shit.
of the day.
Yeah, we've been talking about shit for almost 12 minutes, man.
We
But
can
it is
go
a
on.
problem.
We can go on.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
have
highlighted
done
enough.
Dude, I've been to houses that were like, the area, Armonk, Bedford Hills, the money towns, and you are not allowed to even step foot in their house, let alone like only the construction site, and you'll have like either a security guard or a project manager follow you around. Like, okay, you're only allowed to go in this area. Like, holy shit!
I'll
okay.
start walking in circles until they can catch on.
I had an employee once who's this big guy. He was like 250, 275, and he was like 6'4", 6'5", just a huge guy. And his
Oh
like
my
he
God.
drank Mountain Dew all day and
Oh.
ate the worst. It was just terrible. His diet was the worst I'd ever seen. And like he would clog up customers' toilets. It happened on multiple occasions. Where he would clog up like to the point where like I don't like babysitting employees, but I had to tell him like, look, like you have to
You gotta
stop.
flush
You
halfway
have to
through.
go to a gas station.
Flush halfway.
You gotta go shit. You gotta go shit in the wood with the rest of the animals.
I don't know what was going on
Not the rest of the bears.
his guts, but he could break any toilet, like just break
Oh
it.
my God.
Yeah,
Like
And that's
you
the thing,
burned
like,
a
this
hole
current-
in the side of the porcelain. I don't know how. No.
Oh,
This
Yeah.
current
The
job that
towel.
I'm working on, I mean, they're redoing the entire house. And I would have thought that they'd had a porta john there, but they don't. So luckily, like,
Oh, he's back.
there's a Home Depot 5 minutes down the street. So there's been numerous days where I'm just like, all right, I'll be right back. I got to go to Home Depot again. And the people at Home Depot are probably like, why does this guy come in here so
I'm
many
growing a
times?
tail, by the way.
Oh man,
Freaking groundhog in here. Let's go.
they're gonna put a restroom is for customers only.
Yeah.
Let's grab a water.
So
So,
one interesting thing that I wanted to ask you about is you posted on your story the other day about you having your own showroom.
Yes. Mhm.
Can you give us a little bit more on that?
Yeah. It was 2017. I lived in Cody, Wyoming, which is an hour from Yellowstone. So it's like 50 miles from Yellowstone. And we lived in Wyoming for 10 years. And Cody is a one street town. Like there's a main street. And so my showroom was on Main Street, like basically the main block of Main Street. And I bootlegged it the whole way. Like I didn't do business loans or any of that stuff, or bootstrapped it, I should say, not bootlegged. I actually went and I met this guy. His name's Brian Timmer. He's an artist. And I met him at a one of those home and garden shows just randomly. He told me he was thinking about moving to Cody, and we really hit it off well. And so me and him actually split the rent for this showroom. And I'll have to show you guys pictures sometime because I don't think I've ever seen a more unique tile showroom than what we had. He was an artist and he painted all day long. And he's actually like he's becoming world renowned. He's a very well-known artist, and it's incredible the type of artist that he is and how good he is. But it worked for him to kind of man the showroom all day selling art and then taking all my appointments. So I never had an employee there. I was by appointment only. And I didn't sell any tiles that were less than like around $5 a square foot back then, which was kind of high end in 2017. But it went up to, we had Walker Zanger, we had Elise Edwards, we had Artistic Tile. I had stuff for sale in there that was $300 a square foot. So it was really like catering to high-end tile installation. But the vibe of the place was, I mean, it was incredible because you walked in and the walls are just covered in these giant paintings. You guys have, so Jeremiah, you're on your phone. If any of you guys are not, let me see here. I got to show you his art because he's really world class.
If you send it to Jeremiah, he'll display it.
Yeah, I can pull it on the screen.
Well, yeah, let me not get too distracted here, but
having a painter and like all that stuff would amplify the store.
Oh, it was so cool.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So cool. Because
everybody goes into a boring store, and then you go into somewhere where it's like artistic.
The way that I did it was Vision Stone and Tile came about because I just found out a lot of customers really wanted cool stuff. They just didn't know it existed. They'd never seen it before. And so my vision for the store was to display all the mosaics on the wall. I didn't have any racks. Like you go to tile stores and you flip through these big annoying racks. I didn't have a rack in the whole place. It was all visual everywhere you looked. So you just saw these like really world-class mosaics everywhere. And then you had this art like mixed in. So it got people into this super creative frame of mind. And so when I wanted to start talking to them about what we could do for their project, I found it just really, it worked well. It worked so well because they were already feeling artsy. They were feeling the vibe of the store. We always had good music playing and like real good directional lighting. So the ambiance and the mood of the store was just incredible. But I did that for 3 years. And we would have to get into a whole lot of backstory and things that compounded on me while we were there. But after 3 years, we didn't own the building. The lease was up, and I just chose not to renew the lease. That was basically when COVID was shutting everything down. I was pastoring a church at the same time as well, and that all kind of, I don't want to say fell apart. It just it completed, right? That chapter was over and things kind of, we had to wrap things up. I had to close the store and then decided to move back to Ohio, which is where me and my wife grew up. So yeah, I had a store, and even though I don't have the store now, I've literally not one negative thing to say about the experience, at least the way that I did it. And that's probably why I have nothing negative to say about it, is because I did it just how I wanted to. I didn't really copy anyone else's model or footprint, if you will. Here, I got his Instagram pulled up. See if I can figure out how to share this real quick with Jeremiah.
Yeah,
Well,
send it to
that's
me
the
on
thing
Instagram.
too, is you have that artsy uniqueness to yourself that I think draws everybody into you. Like I imagine like it would be pretty cool to come there and see something like that, because as you said, you go to these showrooms. I've been to a handful of them here in town where me and Harry are at, and it's everything is just on a rack or on a
Yeah,
shelf.
flip through them. Like 50 of them right in front of you within an arm's reach.
So I built these big islands. They were like 4 feet tall and 2 feet wide and 5 or 6 feet long. And all of those tile pieces are attached to these big boards. They laminate their mosaics and all the different sizes to these giant boards. And it's always a real pain in the neck for clients to put those things into the back of their vehicles. They don't convey the feeling of a quality tile when it's just hot glued to a piece of cardboard. And that's basically what all these racks are. So all the loose tile and stuff. Yeah, there's his dog Pete. Yeah, his art is world class. Somewhere farther down though, that piece right there, you have to visualize how large these are. That thing right there is probably 5 feet wide by 2 or 3 feet tall. He paints really big paintings, and he's just phenomenal. And the longer he does it, the better he gets. Keep scrolling though. Let's see if we can. So that's Cody, Wyoming.
Wow.
Like a lot of these scenes are from Wyoming. So in that, go back to that picture real quick, Jeremiah.
Mm-hmm.
See that one on the wall behind that river there?
Yeah, this
now
one.
The other one.
This one.
That's
wow.
He painted that from one of my photographs. I used to do a lot of landscape photography, and he turned that into a painting. And to this day, it's his best-selling piece to this day, which is super cool. Eventually, here we'll see the showroom. This is his new showroom, but we had. Let's see, where are we at there?
Oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's his new one there. If we keep scrolling though, you'll see some pictures of our showroom.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was a custom thing for a client. That was a commission.
That's so huge.
Wait, is that SpaceX?
Yeah, it was a commission for something to do with. So see that building there? Go
that
back
cool
one and click that building. Yeah, that's the side of a building.
Oh
that
wow.
He painted a mural on. See the mountains in the background?
Yeah.
That thing's like a 2-story brick building, and he painted this 35-foot tall mural on it. He's really a phenomenal artist.
Has he done any work in New York City? Because they got murals like that in New York City all over the place.
He's painted stuff for people all over the world, really. So this is also his new showroom.
Wild Bill.
I want you to keep scrolling though to see our old showroom before I moved away. So he was fortunate. He just moved right across the road to a slightly better building, actually. Okay, now we're getting closer.
This one, by any chance?
That's his new one.
Okay.
Our old one.
Is he still in Cody, Wyoming?
Yep, he's still in Cody. Keep going. Keep scrolling. We're getting closer. All right, there we go. Look at some of these pictures of the building if you can. And this is our showroom. Now, I don't know if you'll see any. Yeah, that's the front of it. Toward the back. Yeah, we got to find better pictures if possible.
Let's see. There's part of it.
You can't see any.
Oh, there's your photo. Is this the one you're talking about right here?
No, it's that one to the right of that. That wide one.
That one.
Oh, this one. Oh,
yeah. I took that original picture in there's Kanye West. That was.
Oh wow.
Whoa.
You can do that?
Yeah, we wanted to install that for a client, but we were never able to sell it, unfortunately.
That's tile
installed in my house. Yeah.
Right there.
That's 2x2. Oh, Kanye.
Wow.
Let's see.
Yeah, he lived
Truck.
there in Cody for a while, and we used to see him
Ah.
all the time. That's right across from where our showroom was, and he went to that steakhouse to get cheeseburgers, and I worked on his properties there in Cody. When I lived there, I worked on his ranch. So see, he's just showcasing all his paintings. You're not going to really see
Oh, right there.
the
Check
whole
that picture.
store.
There's 2 pictures above that.
What,
Is that the whole
buffalo?
store?
One more.
No,
one
above
more
that one.
there.
Oh no,
Yeah,
that's the same picture.
That's just
Oh,
an
okay.
angle. I don't know if he
Oh,
has
okay.
any. If they're going to showcase the whole store with all the tile and everything.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but that mural tile is crazy.
There we go.
That,
Click
What's
that
that
way.
right there in the middle?
Go back up, right
Ah.
there. Yeah, see all the tile in the
Oh.
background. Like
Wow.
it's all-
Okay. Yeah.
it was all interwoven. That picture's not doing it a lot of justice, really. It was super cool. It was very cool.
Yeah. Well, it looks
Um,
like you have like little sectionals back here, and I guess where there's
Yeah.
installed tile.
Yeah, there was a seating area with kids' toys and stuff. We had like couches and chairs, and it was just a place. We wanted it to feel just like a place you could hang out, and you could, and people did. It was really cool. I mean, we just hung out. We had a co-joining door with a Mexican restaurant next door too, and like the waitresses would come over and just chill with us. Like they'd bring us chips and salsa, and we would just hang out. Like, it was
Nice.
really cool.
Hey, how'd you
So-
go about sourcing some of this like really expensive tile that you mentioned?
Just annoying reps. I would call them and call them and call. Like it took me a long time to get Walker Zanger in my showroom because they're so exclusive. They usually want to sell you these $25,000 packages, these $50,000 packages, just to get them in your showroom. And everything that I did was, I'm just one of those not conniving, but I can find an angle. And so I always figured out how to find an angle, and I would just get. I mean, there was nobody else really in the state that had the selection that we had in the showroom, just because I would figure out who the reps were. And if one rep would shut me down, I would go to another one. So I just kept calling people, kept emailing people. I would kind of set my attention on the stuff that I wanted and disregard everything else. So the reps knew after a while, my distributors knew after a while to only bring me that kind of stuff. Like if they brought junk into the store, it was like, I'm not really interested. So it was really
So you gonna
cool.
work with me? No, I'll call you tomorrow.
Yeah, pretty much. We didn't. The only like cheap tile I kept in the store was just to show people the difference. And I would hold up this $1.50 square foot piece of junk because people don't get it with tile a lot of times. They really have a not a very nuanced look at tile. They have a real like zoom, kind of like when you look at real estate, you see this flip home. We're in construction, so we can sniff out a flip home immediately and know like that's junk. Same
It's
thing.
pretty on the outside, but crap on the inside.
Yeah, and tile's the same way. If you've been working with tile for a long time, you can just know by looking at so many things going on. You can look at the quality of the glaze. You can look at the fidelity of the print. You can look at the side of the tile, the coloring, banding of the body of the tile. There's 1,000 variables you can look at. You can feel it and know things about the coefficient of friction. If you really get nerdy with it, you can cut a tile and you can look at the striations or the ombre, the color changes in the middle of that tile, and know whether the tile was annealed properly, whether it came through the kiln at the right speed. And those type of things are going to allow you to understand how the tile will perform, how it will cut. I'm the nerdiest tile guy that put it that way.
You know what that reminds me of? Because we all went to coverings and we all felt the big divide of who was designers and distributors and who were installers.
Right.
And they didn't really like the installers and the distributor booths because everybody go, "Oh, that's a pretty tile." And what do the tile guys do? They get to the edge of it and they like sight down. They're like, "Nope, that's a trampoline." Nice banana you got here.
You can't hate on them too much. There's a big division.
They don't know any better.
Yeah, I don't want to say division. It's just different worlds that we live in, which is fine. We, in terms of the. You ever think about this? Some of the most important jobs in the entire world are predicated on intense, severe manual labor, and it's done in the poorest conditions in the world. Really, I mean, you look at uranium mines and all these places in the world where the bare bones resources that run the entire world are done through back-breaking labor, and that type of labor is not really appreciated as you become more of a middleman and more of a salesperson, and maybe your goals become more lofty economically. You, after a while, you can adopt a frame of mind toward manual labor that just does not jive with the majority of the world. The majority of the world does not live in that weird place where you just sell stuff and make a ton of money. The majority of the world lives by the sweat of their brow. And I mean, that's biblical. And there's not, I'm excited about technology and the way that the world is going, but until I think some of the most backbreaking labor and in conditions change, then really it's just easy to be naive and to be kind of narrow-minded, and that's where that feeling comes from, right? That feeling of we walk around and we know what work is. Like we know it because the fruit of it, like it's all over our body, right? Because we work with our physical vessel. And the thing about it is those people that sell their materials and Omar, if you need to laugh at me, it's okay. You can.
No, it's not you that I'm laughing. I'm actually choking over here.
Oh, I see. Choking on your spicy lollipop. Or
Need
whatever.
a little more mango with your Valentina there.
Yeah.
So
Continue though.
I think that people that know what work is, we're just really attuned. That division that you're talking about, Jeremiah, I don't know. I get what you're saying. That was happening, but really when you think about the people uneasy in that scenario, it's not usually us, because we're relaxed, right? We're the ones doing this work. And I don't know exactly what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say that division kind of pops up naturally, and it pops up because you have a group of people over here that doesn't quite know how to behave around this group of people over here that is just a group of people that understand manual labor in a way that this group doesn't. And it creates
I
this
mean, those
natural
people are just
rift.
salespeople. Like they don't really understand what goes into actually putting that stuff into a home.
Well, they have a place in the world.
Their
so
lives are completely different too, though. You know,
Say it again.
their lives are completely different.
Their lives are different, and they have a place in the world. I mean, the world runs off of middlemen. I mean, we would not have a lot of the jobs that we have if it wasn't for that being that way. So we can't say that they're just salespeople in a derogatory way or a condescending way.
Right. No, it wasn't that way, but
it really though just depends on the things that you value. And I don't know that guys like us necessarily chose manual labor as the thing that would become a top of the line priority, but value for us. But when you are that person who either that's forced upon you or it's just how your life has shaped up over time, I think that your eyes open up to the importance of manual labor, and you really can appreciate it. And I think that manual labor has more valuable lessons long term than a lot of these other careers that offer you faster reward. They offer you more economic incentive, but it too much too fast can do weird things to you. And if you're in manual labor, that doesn't exist. There is no such thing as too much too fast in manual labor. You're just stuck in the trenches. And that's a two-way street. There's things about it that make that very difficult. And there's also things about it that are extremely nutritional to your soul, right? On the inside, like it's really good for you. It does good things for you. just to work with your hands, to do things physically with your hands.
Character building.
so-
That'd be a good one. Builds your character.
We're kind of like truck drivers.
Do what?
Oh boy.
We're kind of like truck drivers, We're
Yeah.
kind of looked at in the same sense,
That's why the camaraderie is better. You know what I mean? Because if you're a sleazy salesperson, not all salespeople are, but if you are, the temptation, I would say, for someone in manual labor is to become cynical. The temptation for someone where the economic rewards are greater is to become sleazy, right? So there's temptation, any path that you choose. Within your personality, there's certain development that has to take place through the process of time. Otherwise, you can very quickly veer off into being something that's just not quite as human as you would like it to be. And there's one thing I'll say about manual labor that I appreciate the most is it keeps people human. I mean, that's why I brought up the Porter John thing. If you're crapping in Porter Johns, then we're kin, right? We understand that, because that's I don't want to paint it as some sort of suffering that it's not, because if you're good with your hands, you can make good money. But I like Mike Rowe, and the message that he embodies with Dirty Jobs. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't do easy work, and it may not always pay off economically in the ways that we want, but it definitely can pay off in other ways that I think people don't put focus
and it has
on
to
in
be
the ways
done.
that they should.
At the end of the day, it has to be
What do
done.
What do you love the most about the work that you do and the fact that it's manual labor? Because you speak about it pretty passionately.
I love the most that I have capacity to do it. Meaning, like, I love that my body can do it, right? I love that I can pick up a lot of weight. I love that I can, for instance, today I was walking up and down stringers. There was no treads on yet, just stringers to get to a second story deck. And I was carrying 2 bags of leveler, 100 pounds. And it's very precarious, and you got to kind of balance your way up. Probably not the safest thing to do, but it's better to be competent than safe.
Right.
So
so
I'm just
true.
making my way up.
Did you record that?
Yes.
I don't know. We're live. So
No. Did you record the balancing act? Because that's content.
No, I didn't. I should have, though. But there was this guy working on a metal roof up above, and I got to the top, and I'm moving kind of slow because it's 100 pounds, and I'm walking on stringers. There's only 3 stringers. There's no treads, and so my feet are on one side and the other. And I get all the way up and get my mud in, and he's just like, he's an older guy, and you could tell his health wasn't great. And he's like gawking at me. He's like, I can barely balance enough to even get up those stringers, and I'm carrying 100 pounds up. And so when you say, like, what do you like about it? There's a lot to be appreciated for just having the physical health to be able to work.
Love it.
I love the physicality of it. I love that you are being physical in space, and there's a lot tied to why I like that exactly. But it's good to be strong. It's good to be healthy. It's good to be competent. These are all good things. And I think that there are a lot of paths you can go down in life that they don't necessarily put focus on those things like they should. And as you get older, everyone realizes these things as they get older, the importance of these things, but it's just not really, the focus isn't on these things, I think, like it should be in a lot of career paths. There's so many career paths you can go down where the values, the way that the entire industries are structured, a lot of times orients or revolves around values that are just kind of vain. And that's a long answer to a simple question, but I like the physicality of it.
What are you doing? What do you do? So, like, obviously we all know, like, this is very labor intrusive type of work. So is there anything in particular that you do as far as, like, supplementing things, or, even ice baths, or, whatever it may be? Are there things that you consider doing on like a somewhat normal basis to kind of help take care of your body?
Red Bull.
Yeah.
No.
Monster
Bull.
and cigarettes.
No Red Bull.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot. I'm a very I have an ADHD brain, and so what's I found that's very good for me is routine and structure. I have a very structured day. Every day I do the same things every single day. There are three things at least that I do every single day. And really there's more than that. I would say there's probably 10 things that I do every single week, and there's 3 or 4 things that I do every single day. One of them is ice showers. I take an ice shower every morning when I wake up. Like it's cold ice shower,
and it's brutal.
And then on top of that, to make it even more extreme, I take an ice bath about once every week and a half, and that's where I get a 20-pound bag and just dump it in the tub. I don't have enough money to actually have one of the fancy ones, so I just use my tub, dump a 20-pound bag of ice in there, and physically.
Dude, I could build you one, man.
Say it again.
So I could build you one. They're pretty easy.
I can't. I don't know what he's saying.
He said he can build you one.
I could build you one. They're pretty easy to make.
Are they? Well, you know that. So we just bought a house. I mean, it's not like it would break the bank if I went and bought like a water chiller. They're $800 or $900 or something like that. But when you're buying a house, like I'm not hardly spending $50 anywhere. Like, so it's really way down on the priorities list currently, when the tub in a 20-pound bag of ice works just fine. But that's going to do tremendous things for your body. You're going to burn at a lot hotter temperature. It's going to activate brown adipose tissue, which is, I don't know, it's brown fat essentially. Everyone, when you're a baby, you don't shiver. You develop an ability to shiver as you grow, because when you're a baby, you're supposed to be held and taken care of and kept warm by your mother, and your body's developing a lot of stuff after you're born. So when you're a baby, you have a lot of this stuff called brown fat. It's brown adipose tissue. It's stored primarily around the heart, on the collarbones, and between your shoulder blades. You get a lot of this brown fat. And when you do ice therapy, it basically, it's doing things to jumpstart your body into producing more brown adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is just fat tissue. And the brown tissue burns much hotter and much more efficiently in your body than just visceral fat or regular adipose tissue. So when you willingly expose yourself to extremely cold temperatures, you're training your body essentially to thermo upregulate itself. It's to make itself burn hotter. So it's going to improve your digestion. It's going to improve inflammation of the joints. It's going to improve your heart rate variability, your diaphragm, your lungs. It does all sorts of things for you. There's all sorts of downstream effects of the ice therapy. So I've been doing that for on a religious basis for about a year. Now I've dabbled with it for multiple years, probably the past 5 years. I've dabbled with it. That's one thing. I better hurry up, or these answers are going to take way too long.
So you know Wim Hof then?
Oh boy,
yeah.
the breathing method.
Yeah.
That was bound to come up.
Well, I do breathing exercises every day, every night. After we get off the phone, or after we get off this tonight, I'll do them tonight. So I do Wim Hof breathing. I do lots of other types of breathing too, but yeah, lots and lots of breathing exercises to keep. My thinking on that is we take in so much silica dust that I just want to keep my lungs stronger than the necessities of the workplace. And I don't know long-term if it's going to be viable or not, because silica is very nasty stuff. But I'm hoping that the evidence that my lungs are very healthy is that I can successfully do some pretty intense breathing exercises. So I do that every single day. And that also seems to have a downstream effect of helping me with cardio. Like I don't run really at all. I just do these breathing exercises every day, but I could go run a mile right now. And every once in a while I test it just to see if my theory is true about it. And I'll go run, and I can just run. Like you wouldn't think you're in that great a shape from just these breathing exercises, but I am. I can just go run. I don't know if it's indefinite, but I've not found the limit yet. And that, as far as I can tell, is just from the breathing. I mean, just breathing so intensely every night. I do, 20 or 25 minutes of these breathing exercises every night. And so strengthening my diaphragm, my lungs, all that kind of stuff. So those breathing exercises, that's daily. The ice baths are daily. The ice showers are daily. The ice baths are every week and a half or so, somewhere in there. So back to the earlier answer about enjoying the physicality of it. That is not something that we can take for granted in construction. Like, construction is hard. And if the upper limits of what you can do physically are your job, then eventually your job will wear on you. So my theory on it is I need to be stronger than my job. I need to stress my body in ways that exceed the demands of the job. And so that's why and I know, Donnie, you appreciate this because I know you work out a lot. You're much more muscular than me, and you probably have a much lower percentage of body fat than me, because I don't actually do a lot of strength training, but we all get tons of that every day just being in construction. We get lots of strength training. So and we have functional strength. So Donnie, what you're doing in the resistance training, you're kind of pushing your upper bounds of your strength. But each of us, all 5 of us here, we have a functional strength, though, just through the nature of our job. I mean, we have to carry heavy stuff all day, every day.
That's one of the things that even when I was working in control valves and stuff and traveling to these different plants, I went to a plant that was in Boston, and they had no elevator system, no lift system or anything. So we had to take all of our tools and everything that we were using, all our parts for the new valves, up like 12 flights of steps. So you're stopping at every 4 rungs or so just to take a breath, because you're wearing a 40-pound backpack, you're carrying 2 buckets full of tools, and you've got so much stuff with you. And I remember when we were working out, I don't work out quite as much as I used to. But my wife would always tell me, she's like, I mean, even still today, she's like, oh, you need to be doing these kind of workouts. And I'm like, you don't understand the type of workouts that I'm actually getting just from work.
Right. Yeah. And I'm sure what you discover is after you build a lot of lean muscle mass and build that strength, it's easy to cruise at that altitude. It's easy to maintain just through the nature of our work. So I think it's important to build that muscle mass, but it's easier for us to keep it. I mean, you see it all the time. If you want to see some ripped guys on a construction site, go look at the concrete guys. I mean, they're always just shredded.
And the brick guys.
The brick guys. Yeah, right. And we're not far behind that. The tile guys, we're really not far behind it. So
that made me feel so much better. Thank you.
Yeah, right.
I just got called shredded.
Well, yeah, but Jeremiah, you're only 22, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is the longer you're in the trades, the more that's going to build up. It's a slower build, but it's going to build up more and more the longer you're in the trades.
Don't worry, Jeremiah. One day you'll be big just like me.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is too is that you have to also train on the side, aside from, because a lot of guys are like, yeah, I'm doing construction, that's good enough. But it's like, no, that's good enough for you to do your job.
Right.
But it's not good enough. Like you said, you have to kind of go above it. You have to kind of go at least a tier above it, because you will get injured if you do not.
Right.
Because you hit your plateau. And every job is different. Like, I'm a plumber by trade. So my tool set is completely different than the tile guy. Like, it used to be, 4 foot, 2 foot level. Wrenches made out of cast iron, carrying them around.
Mm-hmm.
Just that alone is, like doing a farmer's carry, essentially. Carrying those wrenches around, twisting them with your hands. And that, like I said, that's what got me into this. But then I noticed once I switched over to tile, I started to lose that. Started to lose all that strength, started to lose all that mass, also age. But that's just
like, deadlift this bag, throw it over your shoulder, go for a hike, squat and drop.
Exactly. Because you worked here in New York with me. You saw the pace that I go by. And young guys that would have a hard time keeping up with that. But that's, like you said, it's a build that you got to get there. Also, from working out and being a plumber and doing construction all your life, you build upon it. But it is important, like you said, to
Right.
keep training, keep exercising. I mean, that's why we post daily videos of us working out, because it's just literally like keeping everybody in check. I
Daily
tag
for the
Nani.
past 3 days. No.
Well, I've been doing it. I don't know. I've just been tagging it now with Jordan, because Jordan gets all pumped up with it. And,
Yeah, he does.
you know, he
I got
gives
half
off
of
a lot of
Instagram
good
doing
vibes.
push-ups now. Let's go.
Oh, yeah, so yeah, we're all going after. And I mean, like, I did it for my birthday, so I did 37. And then what's the other guy's name? The Vision Craftsman.
Visionary
Randy.
craftsman.
Yeah, he's like,
Randy
I'm
the
47. I don't know if I can do that. I said, no, you can. It might take you a little bit longer, but you're gonna get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't let Randy fool you. That guy is in tremendous shape.
Yeah, he
runs
really
like a
is.
runner.
Like, I don't know
I
if
can
I can
see
do
it,
that.
man.
Starts one-hand push-ups.
Yeah, right.
While
Yeah,
eating sushi on the side. No, but like,
yeah.
yeah. So even with that, and like, you know, it's good to stay in shape and just keeping, and also the mindset of it. I think too is something that we don't realize that we do as contractors or, you know, tile guys or whatever. Anybody in the trades has built a callous mind to strenuous, hard labor and work, where normal people find one little problem and they fall and they stop. For us, it's like, yeah, we're gonna have to just do it. We got to build this. You got to demo this. It's for most people, it's like
You see that a lot with helpers, especially if they're not into construction.
New helpers,
Like even
yeah,
people
they're
that are
like,
my
"Oh my God."
age, some people are actually impressed that at my age I'm doing the work at the pace that I am. You know, hauling up thin set and whatnot. And I'll get a helper that's either my age or younger or sometimes older. I think I've had 5 total helpers ever. And you know, I'm the type of person that's like, all right, when you want lunch or you need a break, tell me, because I'm gonna keep going unless you say something. You know, it's like I'm gonna be tired, but it's like, you know, that bucket ain't gonna move itself, so let's go. You know, it's people that aren't accustomed to it. You don't think about it until someone mentions it, right? Or you see them like visibly exhausted, and you're like, "You okay? You take you take a break?"
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing too is, I think everyone wants to live a long life. I assume everyone wants to live a long life. If your life is good, then you want to live a long life at least. And the bottom line is one of the strongest correlations they have to longevity is muscle mass. What happens as you age is people lose muscle mass and they never regain it. And as that declines, your risk toward everything goes up. So being strong and being physically fit is it's risk management as well. It's the way to keep yourself safe and have good longevity. I'm only 34, but I've been doing it for 17 years. I mean, full time in construction for 17 years. And I don't want to stop. I'm going to keep on doing it. I mean, I intend to keep doing it for as long as I can. And if my circumstances change or allow me to take on a different type of label within the industry, or who knows what, I will have to find a way to make sure that the physical aspect is kept up with it in the way that it should be kept up. You know, it's important, at least in my estimation. And I don't.
And that's one of the things, you know, I listen to Rogan's podcast quite often, and he preaches to so many people on there about longevity. It's like he's, I think, 52 or 55 or something like that, and the dude's just in tip-top shape. And it's just because he physically puts his body through things that he knows he doesn't really want to do. But when you get done with it, you're just like, I'm ready to rock and roll now. You know, like you're just ready to go. But you're not going to get the longevity if you don't take care. It's like he says, you know, your body is like an automobile. If you don't keep it, you know, checked up and in tune and everything like that, it's just going to go to crap.
Yeah, and there's a certain amount of we live finite existences. So like we're all going to die, and that I don't want to make things go too dark, but there's
Taxes
a certain
and death, the only guarantees in life.
yeah, unless you die before tax season, and then you get out of half.
Then it's a blessing. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right. But the point is I think so much of like so much of culture is actually predicated on our denial of death. There's a book that I read a long time ago by Ernest Becker called The Denial of Death. And I don't necessarily like all of his conclusions in the book, but one of the things that he points out is so much of culture is actually masking over the truest things about life. Just look at the symbolism of a graveyard, right? We put after a funeral, they very quickly pull astroturf over that fresh dirt. And then they very quickly plant grass seed on it. And new life will come out of that, that's the cycle of life. And that's the truth to the fact that it's not just grim, but it's a real cycle. And so I think that, I think a lot of this goes back to the Genesis story where he tells Adam something like, or Adam and Eve, Adam, he tells something like, by the sweat of your brow, you're going to till the earth. And then Eve, he says something about conceiving in sorrow. And then he says something about all the days of thy life. And I think that there's a certain existential dread or angst, if you will, that everyone has within them. It's just nobody is upfront about it because no one wants to talk about the truth about life. And the truth about it is you will live and you will die. And you'll go through stages psychologically as you develop where the presence of those truths the impact of that on you will wax and wane depending on your specific context. Some people go through hell early on in life and it ages them. Some people never go through hell until late in life and death ages them. And it does it for some people in a very dramatic way. And so the point is you have to view suffering as a little taste of death because that's what it is. It's akin to death, right? And that pain thing that's in all of us is a little shade of it. It's a fractal of it. It's a harmonic of it. It's made of the same stuff, right? So the point that I'm making is, what is the point that I'm making? There's a point that I'm making to that.
You
And
just
it's
got
that,
to take care of your body.
Yeah, no,
Ultimately, with what we're doing.
Have you ever had a life or death experience?
That one time in the Porta John, tell you what.
I have when I fell in that one time.
Or today, toting them bags up the stringers.
No, not really. I've had a lot of crazy things happen in my life. I've been very near to death in many ways, but me personally, I've never been in like a terrible accident or a coma or any of those sort of things. I've had out-of-body experiences. I've had a lot of very strange experiences because I'm kind of a strange guy. But the thing about that is, though, is say it again.
You just view the world differently.
Well, it's through the variety of my experiences. I'm a very eclectic person. I've done a lot of very strange things, and I've filled a lot of very strange roles, and I like it. I think that's because I like strange things. I like weird. I like off the wall. I like different. Those are the things that make me tick. But I'm very dopaminergically deficient, which means my brain does not produce a lot of feel-good chemicals. So I have to externally do a lot of things to feel good. That's really at its root what ADHD is. Now, I don't want to get into all of the taboo of the label or get into all of the biological aspects of that. But basically, people that actually are ADHD deficient, they've got problems with their dopamine pathways in their brain. Their brain just doesn't produce dopamine in the way that it should. And so I, a lot of times, can come across as a very deadpan person, very unanimated person. If I'm not, it's because I'm actively doing things to animate myself. Because my status quo is very like, I feel a lot of pain in my body, right? And it's almost always there. There's discomfort in the body. I'm fidgety. I have Tourette's, actually. If you like, the eyebrow thing, those tics shift. I've had them where I would blink a lot. I've had them in my throat. I've had them in my jaw. I get them in my thighs. Basically, you have Tourette's if you have like 2 or 3 tics at the same time. And I've had multiple various tics my whole life. Now, thankfully, it's not like it's on a scale, right? Some people get it to where they just like,
Non-stop.
yelling out just random crazy stuff. But that's all neurological, right? That's related to neural pathways in the mind. And all of this stuff is very deeply interrelated. My mom was bipolar, and bipolar is connected very deeply to things like autism and ADHD and all that kind of stuff. Now, she went down a path that did not serve her well, and her mind just got worse and worse. She died when she was 50. And so I was close to that, and I saw the things that she did, and I saw the suffering that she was involved in. And so I was able to make deliberate alternative choices. But the point is I have a lot of the same genetics. I have things genetically going on in my body, at least neurologically, that have affected how I feel physically. People that, if you're a real ADHD person, you're stuck in your brain all the time, and you struggle to get out of your brain. My temptation in life is to go too inward. And so I have to do a lot of things to keep myself external in the real world. And so everything that I put out into the world has a certain feel of being connected to the world. And that's because I'm very deliberate to be that way. Because if I'm not, I can go into my mind and go way too far into my mind. Your mind is as infinite as the universe is. It's just most people don't go deep enough into their mind to understand that. But I'm saying all that to say that I have this weird hyper awareness in my body that's always there. And if I just let things go, and if I'm not diligent and careful in how I structure my life, I can find myself in a really bad way really quick. So I'm just very deliberate about all these things. Just I don't necessarily think it's out of fear. I take that back. It is out of fear, but it's out of fear on the deepest of levels. It's a real existential fear. It's not a crippling fear. It's just the realest of fears. It's the fear that we all have. It's just, for me, the nature of that is way more on the forefront of my mind than other things are. And so it affects me psychologically. That's why my personality is the way that it is. That's why with most people, when I interact with you, we're going to go deep really quick. Like when you meet me and we interact, it's not going to be surface level. That's not because I'm trying to be some strange, weird person. It's just because that's where I dwell most of the time. And so that's kind of how it comes out.
So, well, I actually kind of want to circle back before we get far on this, because you mentioned, with your ADHD. And I'm just out of curiosity. So my mom also has like really bad ADHD, and she swears up and down that I have a little bit of it. And the more she like brings up topics, like, you're gonna start noticing this, this, and this. And I'm like, well, crap, maybe. But my mom also has this theory. That's why I like working with my hands, and why I like tile especially so much. Because I've said, like, I like tile. I'm able to, like, my mind's constantly busy. I'm constantly doing something. I'm constantly thinking. And there's so many variables that are going into play. And she's like, my mom has this theory that it's because my brain is being so occupied with the specific work that I do. That's why I enjoy it so much. Would you say you notice would you relate to that? Or could you any of that sound familiar with you?
Well, there's multiple things about that. Number one, you don't have anything if you're not aware of it, because it's the awareness of the things that other people might think are plaguing you. If you're not aware of those things, they might not be plaguing you, because the feeling in your mind is the most important thing, right? And so the feeling in your mind is what it really comes down to. The feeling in the body and in the mind. I was unaware of certain things about myself for a long time. I was unaware of certain things. But then after a while,
he can stay in the car. I'm not playing this game.
When you're stuck in your mind for too long, you want to get out. And then you realize the truth for all of us is you can't. There is no getting out of your mind. You're always there. And so the next thing is, well, how do I at least make it pleasant? How do I at least make it enjoyable? If I'm stuck in this mind that I have and I can never get out of it, I at least want to enjoy the experience. And so I would say it comes down to what is the nature of your experience. If the nature of your experience is enjoyable and pleasant and you don't have a problem with it, then there is no problem. Now, if things start to come up and you wish there were better ways you could handle this or that or whatever, If you are the type of person that's stuck in your mind, the answer is not doing anything. The answer is doing nothing. Now, for some people, they're not stuck in their mind. They're stuck in space. They're stuck on other things all the time. And so the answer might be to go inward into their mind and think a little more deeply about things. So I would say it really comes down to you. It comes down to how you feel and where you are, both physically and psychologically. I'll say this, and this is no condescension toward youth, but as you age, certain things become more apparent to you that weren't as apparent to you when you were younger. And so the effects of what may or may not be going on in your mind, they're not really that important at this stage in the game for you, unless you feel a pull to address them. If you feel a pull to address certain things, then it's good to look at it. I've always been the type of person that has to look at it. I have to look at everything. Doesn't matter what it is, I have to look at. I always have my mind or my hands in something. I heard this real cliche thing earlier. Someone was like, if you really want to know what you should do with your life, when you go into a bookstore, what's the section you always go to? And I had to laugh because my draw is not any one section in the bookstore. It's the bookstore itself. I can look at any book in a bookstore and go into that book. I mean, I'm literally, it could be anything. I will go very far into it.
And I'm like, coloring books? No.
A what book?
Coloring book? No, or comic book?
Any book. I write, even my own books, right? I write. These are all, I don't know if you can see.
Oh, wow.
Like I write nonstop. I mean, I'm always doing something, and I write with a really small font. Here, I'll show you. It's like 2 lines per page, and I've got notebooks of this stuff just full of these thoughts, mostly ontological thoughts, which has to do with the nature of reality.
Now with all the stuff going on in your head, writing is really the only way out.
It is, yeah. Writing or expression.
It's hard to find people to listen to you.
Yeah, well, especially when you drone on like I do. And so the idea for me is writing gives me an opportunity to refine my thoughts a little bit, to become more familiar with my thoughts. And then when opportunity comes up to speak about them, I'm already very well versed in what I want to say.
Yeah,
because
that's interesting, because I'll write my ideas down because I'm really bad at forgetting. But my big thing is, like, if I have to go on a rant, I'll just record myself talking. And I work better when I hear myself, and then I can kind of like revisit that and go, okay, yeah, that's what I meant to say, or I tweaked that a bit, or like kind of go further into it. It's almost like a record of what your mind was thinking at the time. I'm not a big writer, so I guess that might be my kind of loophole, is to record everything.
All of these things are really connected to the topic of self-awareness. The old Greek adage of know thyself, right? I believe it was Socrates, know thyself. That's what all this comes down to, is self-awareness. And for some people, it's harder to be aware of the self than it is for others. When you're someone that is very, very inward, you go into the mind maybe more than if there were a quote unquote average, or what most people are kind of like. If you do that more and more and more, then your behavior can become stranger and stranger to everyone around you, because you don't have that externally reflexive like feedback, right? When you're interacting with people, you get all this social feedback, these cues and these hints about how you should or should not behave. And so if you're just always stuck in the mind, you can become quirky, you can become strange, because that external feedback mechanism that's there is either A, not so important to you, or B, you're just not as aware of it as other people might think that you should be, which is all whatever.
Hey Nathan, what type of an educational background do you have? Because you're probably the most intellectual person I've ever spoken to from Ohio. Nothing wrong with Ohio, man. I'm just saying, every person I've ever met from Ohio has like never
corn farmer
vocabulary you have. I mean, except for maybe Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, well, Dave Chappelle's a superior intellect for sure. He's very intelligent.
So are you.
I'm very intelligent as well, which I can say. I don't think I say that with like an amount of ego. It just is what it is. It comes with all of its own baggage, which is
Self knowledge.
it just, yeah, that's the self-aware thing. So I'm what they call an autodidact, which means I teach myself. I just read books. I'm a speed reader. I read books. Now, over the past year, I've slowed down because the information became too much. I would read 50 or 60 books a year. I did that for basically 10 years straight.
Holy smokes, I probably ain't read 50, 60 books in my life.
Yeah.
Not right now because I've been purging it, but my library at one point was 1,000 books. I mean,
Jeez.
I have bookshelves on bookshelves. And it's all the stuff you would think a person like me would read too. The Greeks, the Romans, the church fathers, I mean, the philosophers, all the way up until modern day philosophers. There's hardly a philosopher in the world today that I'm not very familiar with. So the educational background, I checked out of school in about like the 4th grade. I didn't quit. I finished, but it was just not for me. I couldn't sit still. I was always in trouble. If you look at all my scorecards, disrupting the class, not this and that, like it's nonstop. And mainly it was because I just felt no real world connection to anything I was learning. And I didn't have enough people with enough wisdom around me to know how to deal with me. My dad's a regular guy. He's just a tile setter. He's a phenomenal guy, but he just didn't know what to do with me. And so I give him a lot of credit because he raised me with a ton of grace. He didn't know what to do with me, so he just let me do my own thing. I was an adult by the time I was 6 years old, just the way that it was. So basically, I raised myself in many, many ways. I had adults around, but they just couldn't figure out what to do with me. So my educational background, I went to seminary for 3 years, but that was more just a formality. It was a thing that I thought would be wise to do to become a minister, which I did. I was a minister for 10 years. I'm not now, but I just autodidact. I just teach myself essentially. I consume information at a very fast rate. Yeah, high speeds.
Which with the speed reading, I kind of understand where your point is, because it's weird. You take a book, you look at it, but you only go for certain words. And then with those pieces, you end up getting the whole story, even though you don't have to read line by line.
Well, speed reading is an acquired skill. It's not something I read books on speed reading, actually, to learn how to do it. Basically, you train your mind through rhythm. The way that you start with it is you take a pen and you pick a pace that you want to go at. And you don't, when most people read, they look at each word.
I have that pen.
Same exact pen. There you go. The old zebra, or zebra.
Yep, that's what I have.
When you read, most people look at each word and they internally vocalize each word, but your brain doesn't have to do that. You don't have to vocalize anything. Your brain can take it all in at once if you can train it properly to do it. So the way that I started with it was with a metronome, and I would bounce my pen from side to side. I would take one page and I would split it mentally into a column, and I would bounce from side to side and just in rhythm try and take in chunks of words, right? But all of it at once. And after a while, you find that you know exactly what's being said. You're not missing anything.
Yeah.
You're just taking more in at once.
There's stuff like that comes across social media where it's like, read this, and it's a string of, sentences.
Right.
And then it's like, and then they tell you, it's like, what you didn't realize is, there's a lot of words that they took out, but your brain automatically input them in because you just know the flow of the structure of wording, which I thought was interesting. I go back and read it, word for word. And I was like, it makes sense, but there's obviously words missing.
Yeah. A lot of prepositions, like the word of, your mind almost never sees the word of. It's a word that
filler word.
You intuit
almost.
You intuit that it's there. Yeah, right. And so
that's how I read.
Yeah, I kind of stopped doing that too, because after a while, if you just go 1,000 miles an hour and then you ask yourself, okay, I've been going 1,000 miles an hour my whole life. How do we actually slow this thing down? That's when things get real scary. And that's when you have to start purging and slowing down and taking things out. And that's where real self-knowledge comes in, because it's not hard to hit the gas pedal. What's hard is to, when you're going 200 miles an hour, is to figure out, how do we safely navigate? How do we slow this thing down, essentially? Because there's places the mind can take you that it should not always take you, maybe biologically, where you are in life. It's like with children. The reason why you don't want children to be exposed to certain things is because it's the things that you're exposed to have to match the timeline of a biological life. You have to be alive for 70 and 80 and 90 years. And so if you're taking in, R-rated horror movies as a 3-year-old, you've gone to some dark places really quick. And the mind is very exploratory. The mind is going to take you, Harry.
I got a 15-year-old, man. That was his child. Well, I mean, I wasn't as involved in his life as much as I would like to have been at that age. But yeah, man, he's that right there just kind of hit a real sensitive spot for me, because I used to always say that to the mother and her stepfather, who they watch, they would watch a lot of movies with together at like 5, 6, and I'm like, man, you should not be watching R-rated movies at that age. But what can you do when you're just, a baby daddy?
What really troubles me about, and I'm not a social media hater. I love social media, and I could go into why I love it, because I think there are a lot of nuanced reasons that people don't articulate well as to what's good about it.
It's a double-edged sword.
It's a double-edged sword. And one of the issues that I perceive is that people are becoming too old too fast. And that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to age mentally before you do physically, because the mind, the exploratory nature of the mind, it's not just going to stop there. It's inquisitive and it's curious. And so one of the other reasons why I put such a heavy focus on simplicity and finding beauty in the simplest of things is because it was the only thing that I could like logically see as the inverse of the opposite of that, right? The inverse of, or not the inverse, that's redundant. The inverse of the darkness that people can be exposed to, and it's complicated darkness, is simplicity, and in finding beauty in simplicity. And so that's why I personally like to project or put out into the world simple things, simple ways of being, simple ways of interacting with people, leaving off. So many people have so many psychological layers that are just their habituated ways of acting. They're just bad habits, or they're just ways of talking that are cliche. If you really listen to people, I think that probably 95% of an average person's language is cliched language. It's not real language. It's just learned phrases. It's learned things that they just repeat. And that is fine and dandy if you want to fit into a social structure and be popular and say the culturally relevant things. But it's not fine if you want to discover who you are. You have to cut through all that clutter and all the fakeness and all the cliche. What really made this real for me was when I was pastoring. The longer that I pastored, the more I realized that I didn't have very many original things to say, that most of my sermons were just repeated things that I had heard. And for whatever reason, that just really started to bother me. And now to this day, within Christianity, if you look at it and listen to most of what the ministers and the reverends and the pastors are saying, it's all cliched language. It's all cliched, and it's all language that is repeated and learned and borrowed. It's not original thought. And not that I have original thoughts, but I seek to speak in a way that is my actual thoughts. It's my actual words. It's not just like a phrase, a cliche, that sort of thing.
And I think, like how you were saying, as you grow older, like your mind changes so much and you realize things that were different from when you were younger and stuff. So like I was always going to like church when I was younger, and before I went into the military, and I loved it. I felt like everything was very genuine. But through the years, after going through the military and everything, after I got out of the military, I decided to go ahead and try to find a new church to go to. And I went there, and it just felt like regurgitated stuff that he did. It wasn't genuine. Like, he was just regurgitating things that were just, you could read for yourself, instead of actually like defining these different things and giving you situations of how you can relate to those things.
This
So I
is
gave
funny.
it up.
Me and
then
Omar
you
have
find
talked
so
about
many
this.
people are hypocrites, like most of them people, especially here in the South, these people sit there, they go to churches on Sundays, and then,
They're
every
off
other
the
day,
clock on Monday.
every other day,
Well,
they're just this crazy person.
I think the reason that bothers so many people is not. I don't say this as an insult to you at all, but I think the thing that bothers many people about that is they perceive anything that you think that somebody else is something that you have first perceived in yourself. You have to understand, you know what I mean? You have to understand what the thing is to label someone as that. I'm not saying that you are, but I'm saying you have an
Right.
understanding of what it is. And the only real type of understanding that you can have, there's only two types of understanding. There's abstract understanding, which is just a thought. It's a sentence of the mind, or there's phenomenological understanding, which is you've experienced it. And so you can talk about, let's think of something really wild. Like, I could sit here and talk to you guys about a psychedelic trip, right? But there's a big difference between experiencing that and talking about it. They're not the same thing, and they don't really
Right.
equate in the same way. I use that as an extreme example because people can understand that one. They can understand the difference there. And so all that I'm saying is, when we look at quote unquote religious people, I think that what bothers us is the hypocrisy is so overt. It's so out there. It's like, this is a religious context, and it's still inundated with the hypocrisy. But the hypocrisy, though, it's not singular to the religious. It's everyone. Not everyone. It's most people. It's most people, unfortunately. Not most. I don't want to lump any of you guys into what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is that there are stages of psychological development where you wake up to certain things, certain ways of behavior, and a lot of people never. You can go your whole life without ever having that type of waking up experience, And
Nathan, you ever read the book Conversations with God?
Conversations with God. Is it like I have one called Letters from a Skeptic? Who's that one by? It sounds
Letters
very
from a
familiar.
Skeptic. Who wrote that? Letters from a Skeptic.
I'm not sure. It popped up when I heard the one you said. I don't know.
That sounds familiar too, but I don't think it was the same author.
Yeah, I think
I can't remember who wrote Conversations with God.
I don't know
I'll
that I
look it up.
have. If I have, I've forgotten a long, long time ago.
Okay.
So all I'm saying is that you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. I think that
Neil
if you
Donald Walsh.
say it
Does that
again,
sound-
Yeah.
Neil Donald
Yeah.
Walsh.
Yeah.
Walsh. I don't. Walsh is the one that I think wrote the Skeptic book. Maybe not. I'm
You
not
know,
mixing up.
check that real quick, Jeremiah.
What's the name of the book?
How long did you do the pastoring for?
Say it again.
I think it's
How
said
long
10
did
years.
you do your pastoring?
I pastored for 10 years.
Did you do that? So you were doing that and doing your tile work at the same time, or was this during the time you had your showroom?
No, I had a showroom and was an installer with crews and pastored.
Oh, goodness.
And my wife.
Man, dude.
And I'm married and I have 3 kids. And let me add this little tidbit. You'll find this
Greg
funny.
Boyd is the answer. Greg
Boyd,
Boyd.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
I don't know if I have or not. Like I said, I've read lots and lots and lots of books, and a lot of them. After a while, I quit caring about the nouns, meaning like the names and the things attached to it. It's because after a while you can't keep track of all that. So it's more the ideas and the thoughts and the things that go in that are what matter.
We can talk about that another time, just me and you.
Say it again.
We can talk about that another time, just me and you. I really love this conversation.
Yeah, well, these are the kind of conversations that really stoke my fire the most, to be honest. I love these kind of conversations. But you can't throw out the baby with the bathwater when it comes to religion. You have to put on a different set of glasses. I think that it's hard for us in the West. The nature of our language, even the way that we speak, it has built within it this subject-object divide. And what that means is we like to itemize stuff. We like to think of, how do I want to word this? We like to think of as people as nouns rather than verbs. You know what I'm saying? Like we give, like Donnie's wearing a hat, and we call that thing a hat. But the things that make that a hat are the things, are the character traits of it that it's used for. And so it's the action of what the thing is used for, the way that it's contextually interwoven with its environment, the way that it behaves is what it is. And so when you hear hippies say the world is a happening, right? It's all just a happening. That was a real big thing like in the 60s, is all a happening. What that means basically is the world is a place of motion. It's not a place of things, it's a place of relationship. And so there is nothing that can be understood isolated from everything. Everything can only be understood in a context of relationship to other things. And so in the West, we have a really hard time with religion because we've made God a thing, and we've made things in the Bible just things, these objects. And the mind loves objects because you can grasp them mentally. Well, you can't do that with the world. It's impossible. The world is infinitely beyond you. It's infinitely more than your singular mind has the capacity to ever even come close to contemplating. And so because of that, because we're in this post-enlightenment society where it's all science, it's all objects. Science is the new religion. You know, anytime you hear people say this new study, well, that's these scientists say, or these new studies show, it's essentially the same thing that would have been said 500 years ago about the priest says, or the Bible says. When someone says the Bible says, it's the same language as these studies say. Now, I know a lot of scientists wouldn't like to hear that, but that's because they're post-enlightenment Western thinkers. Jeremiah, I saw you were grinning. Did you want? I don't want to keep talking if you had something to say.
Grinning about.
I actually.
No, so well, I was about to say we got to start at some point wrapping back up. I mean, like I'm into it. I don't know at what point I was grinning. Kind of like my face does its own thing.
Well, it looked like you had something to say, and I didn't. I can just keep going.
If I did,
well, I actually got it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man.
Go ahead. Do you think?
I was just trying to say I actually got to go.
Yeah.
But I will like. I mean, we'll definitely have to talk more another time. Dude.
This.
Yeah. Well, anytime. I'm telling you guys, I could go for hours if you want. Long. I'm just getting revved up.
Well, I know. Like we've all like Harry's got to go. I know I've got some things I got to wrap up. So we were trying to kind of bring us all in. There's a lot of, like I said, this is one of those episodes where we need a lot more time to really digest and open this up. But I guess
think about even if you want to. Think about if you want to, because this isn't really tile related. So you guys will just have to internally gauge whether
it's not a tile podcast.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Blue collar podcast, and this is part of.
That's broader. So we went broad. We just went really broad.
Yeah.
We just have tile guys in it. All right. So,
when you're working, you're in your mind. So this is relatable.
But Nathan, tell us where we can find you on social media. Where we can get in touch with you and get in touch with our philosophical side.
Beware of philosophy. You know that's a warning in the Bible. It says that, beware of philosophy. Instagram, Vision Stone and Tile, and then TikTok, Vision Stone and Tile. It was Nathan Tiles the World, but I finally changed that just so there's some more uniformity there. And then I'm on YouTube as well at Nathan Tiles the World, but I'm going to change that one also to Vision Stone and Tile, just so it's all less confusing.
And then Nathan Tiles the World is going to be your podcast, right?
No, that one.
That's his book.
No. What do you guys know? The book is going to be Zen and the Art of Tile is the book. But I have to first go through hundreds of pages of notes to figure that out. The podcast might be called The Rabbit Hole. I'm thinking about that name, the Rabbit Hole. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm not positive, but something like that.
Yeah. Well,
And
thank
you have
you for
an Etsy
coming.
store?
Yeah, it's on vacation.
Which y'all
mode
should
right now.
check
It's been
out.
moving.
Yeah, you also
Yeah.
check out his Etsy store. He does some good stuff. But thanks for coming on the podcast, Nathan. It was great talking with you. It was great meeting you at Coverings. Thanks for being such a big supporter. You're one of our two most dedicated supporters of this podcast in the chat. So we really appreciate having you on. Yep, the other one's Ryan. So it's again, thank you for coming on. It means a lot to us.
Yeah, it was fun.
For
A lot of
sure.
fun.
Appreciate it, man. It's fun
All
talking.
righty.
All
Well,
right,
see you guys.
Thank you.
We'll save the rest of this episode for another time.
Appreciate you, man.
All right.